Everybody knows that Bulbasaur is the best starter, but have you ever wondered about its design? Like everything about Bulbasaur, this is actually pretty cool, you see. Huh? What do you mean no one will watch a video about Bulbasaur? Eh? What do you mean Charmander is the best starter? Says who? It is under my own free will and under no coercion that Charmander is the best starter Pokemon. It's an adorable fire lizard thing that turns into a badass dragon. But there's something weird about Charmander's typing, and we're not talking about the fact that Charizard isn't a dragon. No, we're talking about the fact that it'd probably make a lot more sense for Charmander to be water type, or poison type, or ice type. Today's question then, what's the deal with Charmander being fire type? Short answer, Charmander is named after salamanders, and salamanders have generally been seen as creatures of fire. So yeah, this makes sense. Long answer, it's sillier than you think. 1. Salamanders aren't lizards, they're amphibians. 2. They're semi-aquatic, meaning that they live in water. So why the fire typing? If you like fantasy, you've probably come across this idea. It pops up in very diverse settings, all the way from Harry Potter to Berserk. In games, you find fiery salamanders in Castlevania to Final Fantasy and everywhere in between. In fact, if your fire elemental isn't named Efreet, then chances are it'll be named Salamander. So it isn't surprising that Charmander is a fire type, even if real life salamanders are, wet. But where does this idea come from? We can probably blame the Greeks for this one. The word salamander comes from the ancient Greek salamandra, which roughly translates to fire lizard. The idea was that these were creatures that could not be hurt by fire, or were created from, made of, and lived in fire. As is the way with silly stories, this one caught on. It reached something of a high point in the works of the 16th century alchemist Paracelsus, who considered salamanders to be the archetypical fire elemental, along with undinis, gnomes, and sylphs for water, earth, and air respectively. Again, if you like fantasy, you've probably heard these names before. So what gives? Why would a semi-aquatic amphibian become the poster child for fire? This is where the story gets very silly. Salamanders like to live in logs. People burn logs. The salamander doesn't like that, so it crawls out. So some bright cookie thought, look at that. This lizard-looking thing just crawled out of the fire. It must really like fire. Maybe it was even born from fire. When, in reality, the poor bugger was probably just thinking, why the hell is everything burning? Nevertheless, this bright cookie tells their friends about the cool fire lizard thing, and like any good playground rumor, the story got embellished a bit down the years. Here are some highlights. During the medieval period, particularly in French folklore, salamanders were often associated with poison, which does have some basis in reality. Salamanders were thought to be so poisonous that one climbing a tree would kill all the fruit, one falling into a well would poison all the water, and its breath could kill entire herds of cattle. Earlier, the Roman naturalist Pliny the Elder noted that salamanders were so cold that they could put out fires. Some authors even said that this could be really annoying, since salamanders would troll blacksmiths by putting out their forge fires. So there's still a fire theme, but with a bit of a twist. Now, what does all this mean for Charmander's typing? Based on real life salamanders, Charmander should probably be water type, but there's already a Pokemon like that based on the Japanese giant salamander, Quagsire. Notably, Quagsire also learns Toxic by leveling up, as a nice nod to the poisonous nature of some salamanders. Based on mythical salamanders, Charmander would be fire type. This is what the developers went for, but given the long and colourful history of salamanders, it's a bit boring. Imagine if some of the other stories were used. Going by the French stories, Charmander would be poison type, or poison fire, maybe with something like poison point as an ability. Think about it like being able to have a male Salazzle. Leaning into the idea that salamanders were cold enough to put out fires, Charmander could be an ice type, if ice types in Pokemon made sense, and didn't suck. But if we didn't want to buff ice types, we could work around this by giving an ice type Charmander something like Heatproof, or something similar that weakens or negates fire type moves. So there you have it. Depending on which version of salamanders you want to go with, our little friend could be water type, or fire, or poison, or ice, or any amusing combination of these. Fire is what won out in the end, but it's always fun to think about what ifs, no? Admittedly, some of these ideas have already found their way into different Pokemon designs, but the salamander idea is far from exhausted. There is a lesson to be learnt here in that silly stories catch on. In real life, just like in Pokemon, sometimes these stories go quite wrong, and we end up with all sorts of crazy ideas, like Charizard not being a dragon type. Still, it's fun to look into these stories, which maybe aren't all that silly after all.